Good evening. I'm John Fleming, Dean of the College of Fine Arts and Communication. On behalf of the Supple family, Cathy's children, her siblings, her niece, and extended family, I want to welcome you to this very special event. Because tonight, we are honoring and celebrating a remarkable woman, Cathy Supple. As Dean, I worked with Cathy on the Supple Music Series for the last 8 years, and one of the joys of being Dean was that I got to know Cathy a lot better than I had before. And Cathy was a tremendous supporter of the arts, creating multiple endowed scholarships supporting musical theater students, and a research endowment that is now providing mental wellness support to young artists. And of course, there's the Supple Music Series, a gift that Cathy and Jerry created for the San Marcos and Central Texas community, and now thanks to live streaming, even to her friends back upstate New York and other places. And this Cathy Supple Memorial Concert was Cathy's wish. While she was in home hospice, Cathy, her son Paul, and I selected the artists and planned the general outline of tonight, a celebration of life through songs and stories. And so the format of tonight will be a tribute speaker, then about 40 minutes of music, then a second speaker, then about 40 more minutes of music, a third speaker, and then a brief encore. And in between, I'll be emceeing things. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our first tribute speaker, Dr. Denise Trout, President of Texas State University. Dr. Trout.
Thank you, John. I am deeply moved and honored to be here tonight on behalf of Texas State University and to speak about our dear friend, Cathy Supple. It's a privilege to have the opportunity to be with so many of Cathy and Jerry's family and friends and to honor Cathy's legacy. Cathy Supple was a woman with a big personality. If she was at an event, a small dinner party, or a 500-person gala, you knew she was there. And the way you knew it was by the questions she asked, the instant analysis she engaged in, or the conclusions that she drew. Cathy didn't hesitate to jump into things, share her opinion, or give advice. My favorite piece of her advice came in a letter she wrote to John and me as she and Jerry were leaving the president's house in 2002, and we were moving into it. The letter was 2 pages long, single-spaced, 8-point type, and covered everything from town and gown relations in San Marcos to how not to mistakenly set off the security alarm system in the house. The letter also contained this, my favorite piece of advice, and I quote, "The handle of the toilet in the master bathroom stays in down position when flushed, and we just automatically pull it back to the correct position parallel to the floor. Otherwise, toilet keeps running." Cathy was a take charge person, and she took charge of things that needed attention. She also had a big heart. She knew how to say thank you, and she kept track of the little things that were important to the people around her. In other words, she had well-refined social skills. And I personally experienced her ability to be gracious as she expressed her appreciation for keeping her involved in the life of the university. But the main beneficiary of these social skills, I think, was Jerry Supple. I believe that so much of Jerry's impact at Texas State was fueled by Cathy and her partnership, her creativity, and her wisdom. And to enshrine that impact on our university, Cathy and Jerry are the namesake of scholarships, a professorship, and several endowments, as John said, that enhance our academic enterprise and uplift our students. And importantly, of course, tonight, Cathy helped to establish the Supple Folk Music Series, bringing folk artists from around the country to perform here in San Marcos. And we are truly grateful to the musicians who are performing in this memorial concert. Cathy also created endowments to support the musical theater program, and she was an ardent supporter of the students who were in that program. In recognition of Jerry and Cathy's countless contributions to Texas State, the university named one of its buildings the Catherine E. and Jerome H. Supple Science Building. And I distinctly remember the August morning in 2003 when I called them from the Board of Regents meeting in Alpine. The Regents had just approved the naming of the building in their honor. And although I was speaking to Jerry on the phone, I could hear Cathy loudly cheering in the background. Cathy's guidance and input were critical in so many facets of Jerry's presidency. And although we miss Cathy greatly, her presence is still felt in so many of our university programs and our initiatives. Through the Supple's influence and leadership, a foundation was laid to transform our university. And for that, our Texas State family remains eternally grateful. Rest in peace, Cathy. Your impact lives on.
Thank you, President Trouth. And just going off script here, I've been here at Texas State for 23 years, so I have been blessed to work under two extraordinary presidents, Jerome Supple and Denise Trouth, and I've had the great joy of meeting first-rate first spouses, John Huffman and Cathy Supple. I've always said that Texas State, what makes Texas State special is the people. And the four of you that I've just mentioned are part of that great legacy of Texas State, the remarkable people that make this such a special place. And now for our musical entertainment. Cathy selected first-rate musicians who also knew her personally. Indeed, they have been frequent featured musicians in the Supple Music Series. So please welcome Trish Miller and John Kirk, joined by the Jamcrackers Dans. Trish.
Thank you, and hello, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here.
I'm sure you all have Cathy note stories yourself.
Well, these three guys were all a part of Fredonia State University in upstate New York, and this is at a time when Dr. Supple was teaching chemistry, and Catherine Supple helped to start a folk music series with some other professors and their wives and the community. And they built a very strong and fun community that we refer to still as Folk in Fredonia. And as part of that, Alan Block, a fiddler from New Hampshire, came and taught us this tune about important things like a Barlow knife. It went something like this.
I've been fiddling all my life, all I got is a Barlow knife.
He's been fiddling all his life, all he's got is a Barlow knife. Barlow handling a Barlow blade, best old knife that ever was made. Barlow handling a Barlow blade, best old knife that ever was made.
I've been hammering all my life, all I've got is Barlow knife.
He's been hammering all his life, and all he's got is a Barlow knife. Barlow handling a Barlow blade, best old knife ever made. Barlow handling a Barlow blade, best old knife ever made.
best old knife ever made. Barlow handling a Barlow blade, best old knife ever made. I've been special all my life, and all I've got is a Barlow knife.
She's been special all her life, and
All she's got is a Barlow knife.
Barlow handling a Barlow blade, best old knife that ever was made. Barlow handling a Barlow blade,
Best old knife ever made.
I've been married all my life, and all I've got is a Barlow knife.
He's been married all his life, all he's got is a Barlow knife. Barlow handling a Barlow blade, best old knife ever made.
Barlow handling
And a Barlow blade, best old knife ever made.
This song ain't got no end. This next song is by a friend of ours who lives in Vermont, and the song stretches from the North Country, where Cathy and Jerry moved from Fredonia to Plattsburgh, New York, and then the song makes its way all the way to Texas. Just a country girl from Malone, liked to dance to rock and roll. She left that red-haired boy all alone. He wandered round from town to town, playing music in a smoky bar, where they dance the do-si-do. Gents to the center with a right-hand star, then swing that gal from Buffalo. Take your partner and you do-si-do. Swing her high and you swing her low. Don't you let that good girl go.
I play for drinks just to drown these blues, and I often wonder how you are. Let's get together like old friends do. 100 miles ain't that far. Well, things aren't going as I had planned, and darling, I can't take much more. I call these dances in these honky tonks and bars all night long till early morn.
Take your partner and you do-si-do. Swing her high and you swing her low. Don't you let that good girl go. I can't have you, I must go. The state of Texas I will roam. Way down in Texas, you can always get a job if you can play that Cotton Eye Joe. 2 a.m., those wild fiddles ring, and the crowd can't get enough. And though I'm smiling, sadly my heart sings for Laura Jean, my only love. Take your partner and you do-si-do. Swing her high and you swing her low. Don't you let that
That's about the only song we know of that mentions the town Malone.
Malone, New York.
My wife and I live now about a half hour from Malone, and it's still the only song we know that mentions the town Malone.
I don't know about you, but we've done some of our finest singing and gathering with friends in kitchens. Think about it. Good acoustics because of all that hard furniture, and it's close to the refrigerator. But it's also the heart of the home. And I can remember my first year teaching at the college in Fredonia, and we were at the Supple's house for, it was before one of the folk concerts, and they always would host the guest who was going to perform that night. And so I think of being in their kitchen with the song, and I hope you'll imagine your favorite kitchens too. Sitting in your kitchen, coffee on the table, talking about the morning and singing a song. There's so much we have to do now, so we'd better get a move on, move on. Sitting in your kitchen, hands across the table, looking for some answers in each other's eyes. There's so much we have to find out, so we'd better get a move on, move on. Sitting in your kitchen, cards are on the table, gambling for some high stakes, but nothing to lose. There's so much that we could win now, so we'd better get a move on, move on. Sitting in my kitchen, your letters on the table, telling what you're up to and how you are. Well, I've got a song to sing you, so I'd better get a move on, move on. Give it a try with us, sitting in your kitchen. Sitting in your kitchen, coffee on the table, talking about the morning and singing a song. So much we have to do, so much we have to do now, so we'd better get a move on, move on, move on, move on, move on.
that last tune was a tune called Shenandoah Falls. Well, every time my wife and I, Peggy and I, came down here to play with Dan and John and Trish, Cathy would always look at me and say, "You're playing Trillium Lane." I'd say, "Okay, sure." She loved this tune. It's a tune that I wrote about where we used to live in Red Creek, New York, along the south shore of Lake Ontario. And the stream, Red Creek, was named for a tannery that used to be in town, no longer is there. And salmon would come up the stream in the fall because it flowed into Lake Ontario. It was an amazing place. And down in the woods were trillium, and trillium were beautiful wildflower, big wildflower. And the whole bottom of that part of the woods turned white. It was beautiful just from the trillium. So this was inspired by that, and it's called Trillium Lane. We have a saying, those who play the hammer dulcimer, and that is we spend half our time tuning and the other half playing out of tune.
The large hammer dulcimer is the forerunner to the inside of the piano, and it had 88 strings. I think this one has almost that many. And Dan finds them all.
So we had a chance to play. Trish and I came down and played with Cathy and Jerry on a couple of occasions. And these occasions were, we've been asked to play somewhere, and we told them we're not playing unless you two are there, because we're not doing this by ourselves. One was the LBJ Library, played there on a St. Patrick's Day. Another time was for the, I'm going to have this right, I think, the sesquicentennial of the school, of the college. Is that what it was? Was it the 100th year?
I think it was the centennial.
Centennial.
It's the centennial.
We played the centennial of the college down by the river, and
It was so beautiful.
it was just great. And Jerry sang this song that we're going to sing for you right now. And the first opportunity I had the chance to sing this song just on my own, without any of Jerry's words of wisdom on the subject, and having not paid attention when he sang the words. I sang this for a group called Scenic Texas. They were up in the Adirondacks in New York State, and I sang this song. I didn't pronounce one name of any river correctly. So I play guitar.
Yeah. You play guitar. He pronounced it the Brazos, and I think it was the Guadalupe. That was how he said it. I forget what the other was. He did get the pronunciation to the Red River correctly. I think you got that right. But we actually have used this wonderful traditional Texas tune as a tune to feature the rivers of the Adirondacks. And then we did a school program in Connecticut, and it was wonderful to name some Connecticut rivers, but they were mostly these Native American names to the rivers. It was a lot of syllables to try to fit into the rhyme there. But I think here in Texas, we should do it the original way, the rivers of Texas. And if you haven't had a chance to go up to the Whitliff collection at the top of the Alkek Library, there's a wonderful exhibit about Texas rivers. That you can go there and see, and it's made me think this song is just right to do now.
And thank you, Paul and Jim, for correcting my. I still had them wrong last night. So you will all know which ones. When you hear me sing them, you'll know which rivers they are. Okay. So this song was it's an old folk song.
There's
It has a chorus.
Yeah, please sing along with the chorus. It's pretty
Here's the
straightforward.
chorus. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. There's many a river that waters the land. You sing. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. Lie, crossed the broad Pecos, we forded the Nueces, swung the Guadalupe, and we followed the Brazos. Red River runs rusty, the Wichita clear. Down by the Brazos, I courted my dear, singing. Runs glossy and gliding, the crooked Colorado runs weaving and winding, the slow San Marcos courses the plains, but I'll never walk by the St. Brazos again. Sing. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. There's many a river that waters the land. So we wrote the New York State Rivers version, and I always sing Down by the St. Regis, where I will be next week, fishing. Well, mostly we'll be sitting around a fire telling lies to each other, but that's what the fishing trip has turned into. But So if I say St. Regis, you'll have to forgive me, I guess. Well, the girls on Little River, they're plump and they're pretty. The Sabine and Sulphur have many a beauty. But down by the Natchez, there's girls by the score. But I'll never walk by the Brazos no more. Singing, la, 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 lee, lee, give me your hand. La, la, lee, lee, give me your hand. La, la, lee, lee, give me your hand. There's many a river and water they never kiss me, call me her dandy. The Trinity is rocky, the Brazos is sandy. I hugged her and kissed her, called her my own. But down by the Brazos, she left me alone. Singing, lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. There's many a river that waters the land. Oh, lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. Lie, lie, lee, lee, give me your hand. There's many a river that waters the land. Well, there's been many a great fiddler from Texas, and we are going to play a famous tune by one of the fathers of Texas style fiddling, Luke Thomason. He wrote a tune called Midnight in the Water. This is one. Cathy really liked this tune, especially at the end of A Night of Dancing.
I think there's a little room along the balcony aisle if you need to waltz.
You need to get in a waltz. Now's your chance.
There's something about a waltz tune by the water. This is Midnight on the Water.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Facebook, of all things, John was issued a challenge to write a country song. And it was when a lot of talk was going around about self-driving cars. And our friend Edna wrote and said, John, are you going to be the one to write the car about the self-driving pickup truck? So he had to make it country since it was a pickup truck, and so he wrote this song where he's going to do called My Pickup Let Me Down. Of course it has to be sad and pitiful if it's going to be country.
Oh, it's pitiful. There's no question it's pitiful.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
Those were some of Cathy's favorite songs, sad and pitiful. She didn't know.
Okay. Well, you did not ask for this,
Tell them all about it, John.
but you're going to get it anyway. Well, I'm just a good old country boy with my girl, my dog, and truck. Well, one day that pickup broke down on me, so I tried to change my luck. So well, I went down to the dealer, and I saw it, and oh my Lord, well, I bought it right there and then, the world's first self-driving Ford. Well, it was a revelation to sit behind that wheel. I could take a nap, I could drink a beer, I could even eat a meal. Well, I must have got so obnoxious, always being drunk and sometimes rude, that my girl left. She took my dog and my pickup left me too. Yeah, my pickup let me down, went it up and drove away. Could someone pick up my pickup truck if they see it along the way? That anomaly with autonomy has left me high and dry. Yeah, my truck up and left me, I still don't know why. Well, I guess that he got tired of hearing me sing my country songs. I can't help it. When I hear Wynette, Weber Willie, I just have to sing along. Well, I guess the day finally came when I changed my choice to singing Taylor Swift and a Justin Bieber songs at the top of my voice. Well, my pickup let me down, went it up and drove away. Could someone pick up a pickup truck when they see it along the way? That anomaly with autonomy has left me high and dry. Yeah, my truck up and left me, and I still don't know why. All right, Dan, take it away. This song does not deserve a guitar break that nice. But thank you anyway, that was nice. Well, let's see. One day I woke up behind the wheel. The GPS said we'd arrived. So I got out and stretched my legs. It felt good after the long drive. But then the door slammed shut. It locked itself. The transmission kicked in gear. And as the truck drove off, it honked its horn. I swear it said,
Goodbye, dear.
well, my pickup let me down, went it up and drove away. Could someone pick up my pickup truck if they see it along the way? That anomaly with autonomy has left me high and dry. Yeah, truck up and left me, and I still haven't got a clue. Well, if I hadn't had my flip phone, I'd still be standing there today. So I called the police and told my tale. They had this to say: a truck by that description had been seen by a couple of hicks heading west down the road with a woman and a dog down Route 66. Well, my pickup let me down, went it up and drove away. Could someone pick up a pickup truck when they see it along the way? That anomaly with autonomy has left me high my truck came home for Christmas.
So sentimental.
Makes me wanna cry. It's sitting out in the garage now, planning its next drive. Well, my girl's still gone, but I got a new dog. He's out howling at the moon. Yeah, my truck came home for Christmas, and I'm no longer blue. But you know that pickup let me down, ran it up and drove away. Could someone pick up that pickup truck if they see it along the way? That anomaly with autonomy had left me high and dry. But then my truck came home for Christmas, and I no longer cry. You know, that truck steered me wrong. That truck left me flat. Nothing but taillights.
Come on. There you go. There's something you won't hear every day.
All right.
We're gonna do,
A dance.
yeah, I guess a dance. If we're just doing one.
It says here on my paperwork.
Well, we haven't done a whole lot of group dancing in the last couple of years, but I hope we can get back to square dances and circle dances and community dances soon. I've been teaching some clogging to people because dancing on your own, people still want to dance. And it's called clogging, but those shoes are not very flexible, and regular old tap shoes are. So that's what I'm going to wear. I'm going to be the percussionist while these folks play a good tune called The Hangman's Reel.
All right, thank you very much. And now we will have our second tribute speaker, is Mr. Jack Martin. Jack is a distinguished alumnus of Texas State University. Early in his career, Jack founded Public Strategies, Inc., PSI, in Austin, and he grew it into one of the most successful public affairs firms in America. PSI was later acquired by London-based WPP and merged with Hill and Knowlton. The combined entity is now known today as Hill and Knowlton Strategies. Mr. Martin is a former chairman of the Texas State University System Board of Regents, and he chaired the search that led to the hiring of President Jerry Supple. Mr. Jack Martin.
So it's an honor for me to be here. When Dr. Trouth called me and asked me on behalf of your family, on behalf of the Supple family, to speak today, it was something that moved me a lot because I cared a lot about, and still do, your parents. As it's true, I chaired the selection committee and the board of regents that hired Jerry and Cathy. We looked at it as a partnership when we met them. Jerry, I was honored to give a eulogy at Jerry's funeral, and I had flown there from New York. And I remember afterwards Cathy saying to me how ironic it is that we had to get somebody down here from New York to give the eulogy at Jerry's funeral after all the grief you took for hiring us from New York. I didn't take a lot of grief. They were enormously popular. But I'll tell you a little bit about Cathy's role in all that, which is pretty significant. Shortly before Jerry passed away, we ended up together at a Bobcat football game. It's probably one of 2 or 3 I've been to in my lifetime. And for some reason I was there that day, and this was a period in Bobcat football where we were between who hired this guy and next year's going to be better. So the game was a little slow, so Jerry and I ended up having our last visit, and it was wonderful, and it lasted about an hour. But in the visit, he said, "I've got a question to ask you." He said, I've heard you have told people that Cathy, in the end, was the reason you thought I was the right guy for the job." And I said, "That's absolutely correct." And he said, "Thank you. That is the greatest compliment you could give me." And he really meant that. And so they came here. We had a search process. For those of you may remember, in 1988, the president of the university got fired in a very public spat in a 5-4 vote, and things were sort of in a disarray. And the morning after they fired the president, I became the chairman of the Board of Regents. And I was 34 years old, so that's not a good thing. And that was the setting when we decided to have the first ever national search. We had a search committee that had the town and the faculty and the students, and they'd never done that before. In the past, they'd chosen a president perhaps in the back room from one of the other schools, or it had been more of a political thing, but we did it, and we found a person named Jerry Supple, who we loved. There were 3 finalists, and the others were from closer to home, let's say. And so here we are in the search committee. I have really tried hard to convince them that we're going to hire this fellow from New York, and that's going to be okay. And it was hard for some of them to accept, particularly some of the townspeople with the best of intentions. But this was, let's just say, the people I put on the committee, it was a little bit of a stretch. And so we had a idea that we'd bring all the finalists on the campus to visit, and we'd invite the spouses. And so we had Jerry and Cathy here, and by the end of the time when people were giving tours, I kept hearing from everybody saying, "We just love them, and we really like both of them, and Cathy's just wonderful." And I kept hearing about this is going to be a great partnership, and that meant a lot to me. And so here we are the night before the board's going to vote, and we have a dinner. And I had invited all the finalists and their spouses to the same dinner, which was a little bit unique, but I really wanted to see how they did in a tough situation. And Jerry and Cathy handled it great. Well, so I am sitting with Cathy, and I didn't have the votes. I needed one more vote, and the only possibility was this person on the board who'd been on there for 18 years, let's say, was a little conservative. So Cathy, we're at the table, I'm thinking this is going great, and here comes my fifth vote and sits down right beside Cathy. So he starts grilling, because he wasn't completely sold on the New York idea, so he starts talking to Cathy, and the first thing I hear is, well, I started school at Berkeley. And then I went and I have a Master of Arts in Liberal Studies. And I'm now getting a little worried, but at one moment, and so then she said, well, I also went to Oxford. And this is when Cathy and I bonded, because he looks at her and he says, well, how did you like Mississippi? And Cathy says, I love Mississippi. And looks at me and kind of like, okay, I get it. Well, the next day, we hired Jerry and Cathy. So the legacy is here for everybody. You all know they were a great team. They were a great partnership. Cathy's particular involvement on the campus were things that I also was very involved in. Not because it was my idea, because it was her idea. The Center for the Study of the Southwest, that was something she cared a whole lot about. The Supple music series was something that we really were proud of, and she started. She pushed the university to get a grant from the National Institute of Humanities for Regional Human Studies Center. And that was something that she was proud of. The Southwest Writers Collection, which is here in the Whitliff, she championed that. And that was something that when we first started was very controversial on the board. And she turned it into something that everybody loved. The Texas River Center at Ocarina, she was very involved in that. Her passions about these things, she moved them along, she pushed, she cajoled people, and they were truly a wonderful, wonderful partnership. And just so you don't think she lost her drive or her passion for things, she also was very active in the Hays County Women's Center, which meant a great deal to her. They were just wonderful people, and you know, I've been associated with this university now for almost 50 years, and I can't think of anything that means more to me than the legacy these two people left, and how deeply honored I am that you all would let me get up here today and say something kind about Cathy. When I think of Cathy, it makes me want to laugh. I mean, there was always just laughter. And it's just a wonderful thing you've done here today, and I'm so honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Those are some wonderful stories about Cathy. One of our first trips down, Trish, in 1996, Trish had gone through a year of cancer treatments for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and we got a phone call from Jerry in October when her treatments were finished, or he had called a little bit before and said, when are these treatments over? He said, I want you to come down to Texas and come down to Southwest Texas State and join us for the weekend. It was a homecoming weekend, and it was also Capital Campaign Weekend, 1996. So Jerry was going to be announcing a huge capital campaign drive, the amount of money for which he said he had to practice saying in the mirror because he kept laughing every time he said the money. And we get there, and the airline has left our luggage somewhere, you know, and so we don't have any clothes to wear to the campaign
To the
kickoff
fancy
dinner,
dinner.
to the fancy schmancy dinner. And Cathy goes, "Oh, no problem. Trish, try this on. John, here's one of Jerry's suits." So it fit me really well.
Kathy's clothes fit me. I felt very lucky, even the
Yeah.
shoes.
And we went like as the second gentleman and second lady to the Capital Campaign dinner, and I was wearing Jerry's suit and had a Southwest Texas pin on it. And Mary Ann comes up to me and she feels the jacket. She goes, "Nice suit."
The president's
knew-
secretary knew his wardrobe.
She knew
so
whose
he
suit
was
that
wearing
was.
it.
One place I'd like you to find online, if you like it, on Facebook, there's a place called Fredonia Folk Weekend. This is something that Cathy and Jerry started, along with Carmen and Dick Gilman, at Fredonia College, back when I was a student, back when Dan was a student, when Dan Berggren started as a faculty member there. And it ran for 32 years, bringing folk artists from around the country to give us workshops.
They still have a music series in the town of Fredonia at the Opera House, too.
Yeah, and the Gilmans ran a series at the Opera House as well. It was kind of a reflection of all that. But one thing I want to point to you at that site on Facebook, Fredonia Folk Weekend, there are pictures that Cathy took of the first several folk weekend things. And said, "Cathy, you were an amazing photographer and you were taking these pictures." She goes, "Oh, I just took a class in it that semester, and that's why I took those pictures." She hand-developed over this first 3 folk weekends, the first 3 years. She took about 240 photographs, hand-developed. They are really remarkable, and we scanned them all. If you want to see Jim Supple when he was 10, you might want to
And
check
John,
in.
when he had, not only when he had hair, but when he had brown hair.
It's hard to remember, but anyway, it wasn't 70s after all. But we had a great times. Those were times we'll never forget, and she especially had wonderful pictures of us dancing all together. And she loved playing those tunes, and Jerry really loved playing the dance tunes on the banjo. So we're gonna start this set with a tune called June Apple. It's a southern, meaning North Carolina, Southwest Virginia, it's from that area. A great dance tune, June Apple.
And if anybody feels like moving around, I don't blame you. Stand up.
You have been sitting there a while.
Move,
Everybody stand up.
take a deep
Here we
breath.
go.
Come on,
Move your,
stretch a
move your
little.
legs a little bit around. There you
We'll
go.
give
This
you a
is
little
gonna be
movement.
a little bit of an aerobic exercise.
As our friend Steve Warner used to say in front of an audience, he'd go, "Can I have a show of hands, please?" That was-
Go with their wallet stand.
You might want to even turn around with it 2 times. Say hi to your neighbor.
Hello.
Jerry loved to tell the story that when he hired me in 1977, he was my dean, and he called up Cathy and he said, "Guess what? I just hired a guitar player."
And a teacher.
A song that Cathy and Jerry and Dick and Carmen Gilman used to sing with us, called "Old Green Sweater." Perhaps you've got one in a drawer. You don't put it on much here in Texas, but maybe you got one for the cool weather.
Dan's a songwriter. This is one of his songs.
Somebody made this old sweater, 6 or 7 big green balls of yarn. Look how it surrounds me, how it wraps around me, just like being hugged by loving arms. I don't know the name of the farmer, I don't suppose that I ever will. No, I ain't never met him, but I can't forget him. He's the one who raised the sheep and sheared the wool. You know I love my old green sweater. I've worn it for years and it feels good as new. There's just one thing that warms me better. That's your love. That's you. Somebody made this old sweater, 6 or 7 big green balls of wool. Look how it surrounds me, how it wraps around me, just like being hugged by loving arms. I don't know the name of the farmer, I don't suppose that I ever will. No, I ain't never met him, but I can't forget him. He's the one who raised the sheep and sheared the wool. You know I love my old green sweater. I've worn it for years and it feels good as new. There's just one thing that warms me better. That's your love. That's you. Some folks have drawers just jammed with sweaters, while other folks have none to keep them warm. Well, I have one that's got your touch, that's why it means so much. And I'll wear it when it's mended or it's torn. Somebody made this old sweater, 6 or 7 big green balls of yarn. Look how it surrounds me, how it wraps around me, just like being hugged by loving arms. Give it a try. Oh, I love my old green sweater. I've worn it for years and it feels good as new. There's just one thing that warms me better. That's your love. That's you. That's the love that made the sweater. That's you. Thank you.
Well, whenever Cathy would come up to the college lodge, when I was in college there, I was a little kind of a nervous twit, and would sit around, and she'd always pull me aside and say, "Teach me how to play that song." And I would teach her how to play the songs. And it was really great. And she got to know how to play a lot of different things very, very well. But this was one of her favorite, and definitely one of Jerry's favorite songs. And one of my fondest memories, Jerry was on his, towards the end of his cancer fight, and we were all together at Camp Uncas outside of Great Camp Sagamore, another great camp. And they dialed the phone, and they said, "Could you all sing for Jerry?" And we sang this to him. And we'll sing it to you now, and hopefully you'll join us. It's written by Estel C. Ball down in Kentucky. It's called "Give Me Just a Little More Time." And the chorus says, "Give me just a little more time, Lord, give me just a little more time. So very many souls are lost in sin, so very many left behind. I've got a lot of things I'd like to do before I leave this world behind. And I'm ready when you call me Lord. Give me just a little more time." And it sounds like this. Give me just a little more time, Lord, give me just a little more time. So very many souls are lost in sin, so very many left behind. Got a lot of things that I'd like to do before I leave this world behind. And I'm ready when you call me, Lord, give me just a little more time. I'm ready every day as I travel on my way to the city beyond the sky. There is not a doubt, time is running out, and the hardest time it's running nigh. Every moment that I have to carry in this world, I'll try to make my laughter shine. And I'm ready when you call me, Lord, give me just a little more time. Join us. Give me just a little more time, Lord, give me just a little more time. So very many souls are lost in sin, so very many left behind. I got a lot of things that I'd like to do before I leave this world behind. And I'm ready when you call me, Lord, but give me just a little more time. I need a little time to carry in the grain before the final judgment day. I need a little time to sing the word of God and serve a man along life's way. Every moment that I have to carry in this world, I try to make my laughter shine. And I'm ready when you call me, Lord, but give me just a little more time. Give me just a little more time, Lord, give me just a little more time. So very many souls are lost in sin, so very many left behind. I got a lot of things that I'd like to do before I leave this world behind. And I'm ready when you call me, Lord, but give me just a little more. Play it, Jack. I'm ready every day as I travel on my way to the city beyond the sky. There is not a doubt, time is running out and the harvest time it's running nigh. Every moment that I have to carry in this world and try to make my laughter shine. I'm ready when you call me, Lord, give me just a little more time.
Sing with us.
Give me just a little more time, Lord, give me just a little more time. So very many souls are lost in sin, so very many left behind. I got a lot of things that I'd like to do before I leave this world behind. And I'm ready when you call me, Lord, give me just a little more time. Give me just a little more time, So very many souls are lost in sin, so very many left behind. I got a lot of things that I'd like to do before I leave this world behind. And I'm ready when you call me, Lord. Give me just a little more time. I'm ready when you call me, Lord. Give me just a little more time. And every time we sing that song, we think of Cathy and Jerry.
Cathy was a very, very well-traveled person and expanded her horizons by visiting places all over the world and made friends everywhere that she went. One of the things in the music community is that the music reaches across to people, some of the new people coming to this country, also being a welcome to people across neighborhoods and such. And the next tune we're gonna do is one that we actually learned from a mandolin player who was on the Prairie Home Companion radio show a lot. His name's Peter Ostrusko. And his father happened to have a mandolin orchestra in St. Paul, Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Minneapolis and St. Paul, as they say it there. And his father, Peter made sure that his father's group was recorded on a cassette. And we happened to pick up that cassette at one of Peter's concerts and love this little waltz we're gonna play you from Ukraine. It's called Balamuti.
traveling through this world of greed, where some have none, they starve and stumble, while others hoard more than they need. I'm going home to help my neighbor, going home to do my part. Love depends on peace and justice. Peace begins in my own heart. Storm clouds may all around us gather and turn bright day to darkest night. With courage we will walk together and make our way back to the light. I'm going home. I'm going home to help my neighbor, to do my part. I'm going home to do my part. Love depends on peace and justice. Peace begins in my own heart. Peace and justice. Peace begins in my own heart. Are you a poor, wayfaring stranger, lost in this world you're traveling through, to find a path to unto others, as you'd have them do unto you? Going home. I'm going home, help my neighbor. I'm going home to do my part. Love depends on peace and justice. Peace begins in my own heart. Peace begins in my own heart. Thanks for singing.
While we are together, should we do something?
You're warming up. You're jumping in on those songs more frequently. Here's one we love to sing.
If your feet are tapping, we know you're still with us.
The more people, the better.
We have a great memory. Candace has a great memory of singing this in a parking garage over by Alkek. So we'd like to all go over there now.
We'll continue the concert.
Well,
in the
they're just going
parking
to
garage.
add a ton of reverb so we sound like we're there.
No, we'll get the resonance from the audience joining us. It's a tune that was on the Newton Street Irregulars CD and cassette tape that Cathy helped us to record over at Fire Station Studios, and with the help of Bobby Arnold. We had a lot of fun and are so glad that we have that memory to keep there.
And Bobby, if you're out there watching, hi. And Carmen and Dick, we know you're watching. Hi, Carmen and Dick.
Come, my friends, and let's be jolly. Drive away all melancholy. For to grieve now would be folly. While we are together, let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts
Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. While we are together.
Old King Solomon in all his glory told each wife a different story of those things that we delight in while we are together.
Let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun. We'll end it all in pleasure. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. While we are together.
Eating and drinking, there's no harm in. Dancing and singing, they're so charming. These are the things that delight Carmen while we are together.
Let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun. We'll end it all in pleasure. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. While we are together. Come, ye friends, and fill your glasses. Grab the bottle as it passes. Water drinkers are dull asses. While we are together. Let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun. We'll end it all in pleasure. Hey, right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. Right, folly, rolla, rolla, to-roll-lido. While we are
Well, we're going to play a tune for our next speaker coming up. We're going to play a couple of a French-Canadian tune, which is called The Bay of Fundy, followed by a wonderful tune from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, written by a fellow named Peter Melton, and it's called Big John McNeil.
I'm very inspired by the wonderful representation up in the exhibits of Mexican and Mexican-American artists of various, whether it be the music or the visual arts or the writing, and also the Texas, and particularly more regional singer-songwriters and other writers. We have a similar reach across the border between Canada and upstate New York, and it's really been shut down by this horrible COVID, and I do hope that things open up more, and I'd love to see us make some kind of a dedicated library and music that celebrates Can-Am on the other border, too.
Well,
so we'll work on that.
I think a nice start might be to show some Texans how to laugh in French Canadian.
Oh, no.
Are they ready for it?
I don't know. John,
Quebecois laugh. You got
you
it.
ready?
Yeah.
Let's try it. Here we go. No, you try it. Not bad. Not bad. Or as they say in Texas, oh, it's great, fabulous.
What do they say in the North Country of New York State? Dan, you grew up there. We all kind of grew up in New York State. Give us you got to.
Cripes all Friday, I don't know.
Oh, I tell you me, I'm embarrassed to be here.
So don't I, Danny, so don't I.
Now, you won't swear, but you'd say, geez, I'm crow. Geez, I'm crow, I tell you. All right, are we ready?
We are just about ready. Okay. I sort of
We're
don't want
going
this
to
back
the May Fun Meeting. They have high tides.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank all of you for coming out to celebrate Cathy's life. I want to thank Trish, John, and the two Dans for sharing their musical talents. And we have one more tribute speaker representing the family, Jerome and Cathy's eldest son, Jim Supple. Jim, come share.
Mom made lists. I couldn't think of a more fitting way to celebrate our mom's life than this evening, with music that she was just so passionate about, performed by not only such accomplished musicians, but such dear friends. As a family, we have so many people to thank. And on behalf of my brothers and the rest of our family, in particular, we need to immediately thank Kevin Gilly and John Fleming for making tonight possible. They and their staffs did all the heavy lifting and really allowed our family to do what we needed to do, which was remember Mom and celebrate her life. We're incredibly appreciative of Jack Martin and President Trouth for their kind words about Mom. Not only did we make lists, but we got letters too about how things needed to be and when they needed to be there. So I'm not surprised she left one. I also really need to thank President Trouth and Marianne Mendoza for not only enabling our mom, but ensuring our mom, not that they probably had much of a choice, was still such a valued and active member in the university community. I don't think you'll possibly know how important that was to her and to us. I need to thank the community of San Marcos for such a warm embrace of our folks. I was a junior at the University of Delaware, which was as far south as any of the Supples had ever really resided. We were right on the Mason-Dixon line. And when Dad was in the job search, and when he said he was considering a school called Southwest Texas State, immediately I had similar feelings to some of the members on the search committee about whether or not he could be successful here, because I had kind of a Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court scenario running through my head. But fortunately, my next door neighbor was from Houston, so I went over to him and I said, hey, my dad's being considered for a job at Southwest Texas State, and I will never forget the expression on Jeff's face when he said, Sweet Sue? Man, that's one of the best party schools in all of Texas. And so my concern immediately went to a whole nother level, because that's not what I envisioned Dad, really embracing. So that was April of '89, and I came down to Texas to kind of check out what was going on after they came down, and it was incredibly comforting, because in a very short period of time, I realized what a wonderful match it was for my parents and the community and the university. I have to thank so many friends that are too numerous to name, but your acts of kindness to my mom over the last 18 months, especially when she was really sick and confined to a bed. Simple things like bringing a dog from next door, or traveling from Houston once a month. It seemed like they were here more often than I was. Coming over and doing foot massages and throwing birthday parties and decorating the house for the holidays. I think it's not only your presence here tonight, but those acts are such a testament to the kind of mom that we had, and the kind of lady that she was, and how she cultivated her relationships and her friendships. The caregivers and the hospice nurses and the social workers who were just so loving and so wonderful, and allowed our mom to live her last days with such dignity and such grace, and ultimately die that way as well. You'll be forever etched in our memories, and we're super appreciative of you. And then the last bit of thanks I have to do myself. Excuse me, my brother Paul made such a tremendous sacrifice and gave my mom such an amazing gift, but also gave that gift to me and the rest of our family, because we knew that practically every hour of every day he was with her, making sure that the right decisions were being made, and more importantly, letting her know that she was loved. And so, Paul, I love you and thank you. As President Trouth and Jack noted, Mom was a force of nature. She knew what she wanted, and she pretty much knew how she wanted it. And Jack mentioned that Mom started at Cal in the 60s, and that's where she met Dad. And she worked really hard to get into Cal Berkeley, and at the time that was, it still is, a very prestigious university. And but she didn't graduate from Cal. Dad finished up his postdoc work, and in '64 they got married and moved to Fredonia State, or Fredonia, to be at Fredonia State. And as her sons got older and kind of became savvy to the comparison of the two universities, as teenage sons would be wont to do, we would kind of rib her about the fact that she left Cal to graduate from Fredonia State. What we came to find out, though, here recently is that Mom was studying political science at Cal, and Fredonia didn't have a political science department. And Mom worked with the dean of the College of Arts and Science to cobble together a curriculum so that she could graduate with her degree in political science. So if she wasn't the first, she was definitely one of the first political science graduates from Fredonia. Mom had lots of passions. Music was one of them, photography was another. John, thank you for calling out to the entire world over the internet that there's an opportunity to see me at 10 years old.
Very cute.
Thanks, John.
Still is.
Checks in the mail. And it was a passion that when she would travel, the photo diaries that would be posted or sent, or I'm truly going to miss those. I'm going to miss her, insatiable curiosity. I love the way tonight went, because we got to meet and visit with people before we came out here and before I had a chance to speak to everybody. And I was reminded of a story that I've heard recently twice in the last couple of months about Mom when they were first here. And a group of women took Mom down to the Laredo area, and they were just moving around, and I think Mom, with her curiosity, just kind of wandered off, and the rest of the group was like, where did Cathy go? And then their panic started to set in, and it was like, oh my goodness, we've lost the president's wife. So after a few nervous moments, Mom stepped out of a church, and she had seen a church in Nuevo Laredo, and had gone inside just to kind of check it out. She was, fascinated with architecture, was always taking pictures. I will also miss the emails with links to subject matters that we had just spoken about on the phone, whether it was something recent or something was happening in current events, and we were kind of pondering why things might be happening and unfolding the way they were. And after a 15 or 20-minute conversation, a day and a half would go by, and we get an email with 3 or 4 links to articles that you could go and read, and it was really was just a great way. It could be anything. It could be something I was doing, something my wife was doing, something our kids were doing, and like I said, something that was just happening in current events. She had an insatiable quest for knowledge. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I think it's just a wonderful testimony to the person my mom was. It means a tremendous amount to me and my family to have you here this evening and celebrating her life. I should have been prepared for how emotional this was. I'm really glad I didn't come after. Give me just a little more time, Lord, because I can still hear my parents singing that song. 18 years ago, we celebrated my dad's life, and the three sons were asked to speak. And we came up from behind the stage to sit out in the audience, and Dad is singing a song called Going Down the Valley, which when Dad sang it, Dad kind of had a haunting voice. And it's a song about, one of the lines is going down the valley, going down the valley, going down the valley one by one into the setting of the sun. And so to me, I've always thought of it as kind of, geez, death can be really lonely, or death feels lonely. And again, I think your presence here and your presence in my mom's life, especially in the last 18 months when things were especially tough, is a representative of the fact that death doesn't have to be lonely. And with that, I think I'm actually going to turn it back over to the group, hopefully, for one more song. Ironically, I actually think it is Going Down the Valley, which was not planned, but should have been foreseen. So thank you very much.
There's a chorus on this that we'd love for you to sing along with us, and we'll certainly show you how it goes. And Jerry and Cathy would be most happy if you would sing it with us. Yeah. I'm sure.
This is really a touching song, but I'd like to just mention one really funny little moment that I had with Jerry and Cathy used to love to have me tell this story. That was one time Jerry and I went and played golf together. We did that a couple times in our lives at Quail Creek. And this will date the story, and that is that Jerry had a car phone, not a cell phone, not a satellite, a car phone that was hot wired in the car. And he just wanted to kind of show off to me. We finished golf, and he went beep, 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 beep. And all of a sudden, there was Mary Ann's voice. Hi, Dr. Supple. He goes, what's up? Mary Ann goes, well, Lady Bird Johnson called. He goes, would you tell her to quit bothering me? And then he looked over at me and kind of winked like that. And but Mary Ann just went, no, oh, and then so-and-so called, and then so-and-so called. She just went, she was used to his sense of humor, I think.
Knew when to take it not so seriously.
Here's a chorus. We are going down the valley, going down the valley, going down to the setting of the sun, going towards the setting of the sun. We are going down the valley, going down the valley, going down the valley one by one. We are going down the valley one by one, with our faces toward the setting of the sun. Down the valley where the mournful cypress grows, where the stream of death in silence onward flows. We are going down the valley, going down the valley, going toward the setting of the sun. We are going down the valley, going down the valley, going down the valley one by one. We are going down the valley one by one, when the labors of the weary day are done. One by one the cares of earth forever past, we shall stand upon the river bank at last. We are going down the valley, going down the valley, going toward the setting of the sun. We are going down the valley, going down the valley, going down the valley one by one. We are going down the valley one by one. Human comrade, you or I, there will have none. But a tender hand will guide us lest we fall. Christ is going down the valley with us all. We are going down the valley, all going down the valley, going toward the setting of the sun. We are going down the valley, going down the valley, going down the valley one by one. We are going down the valley, going down the valley, going toward the setting of the sun. We are going down